Good, man. How are you? You're working on- Sounds good. Oh, that's just to make me look smart. No, yeah, I do. Although these days I've moved to the Kindle pretty much, and I've pretty much like gotten rid of all my books at some point. But there's a few keepers back there, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, between like moving, I've moved so many times and like living in cities, like between my records and my books, it was like I needed a moving truck just for the two. So eventually I just sort of dumped them all. My collection's like a tenth of what it was, and my books are down to nothing. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's like a fair assessment. I don't know. I did it so long, and before there was really any of the technology, so like I was on vinyl. So I think, I mean, I would have just described myself as sort of like open format before that was really a thing. Like whatever records I had, my parents sold records and whatever. I would just find creative ways to sort of put them together and play parties and do my thing. And it sort of evolved with the tech to be able to create those remixes sort of yourself. And then I just sort of like was one of the first, I guess, mashup remix guys out there that, was getting around and sort of spreading that sound, and kind of went from there. I mean, but I can pretty much play anything at this point after doing it for that long. Not really hard for me. Although I'm basically retired. I mean, I very rarely do it. I mean, basically, unless it's something I really want to do. Once I had kids, it pretty much like stopped traveling and
Hmm.
started trading all the time.
Yeah, sorry. So like Twitch was telling me that there was no audio on my side, and I had that same problem last night. So I just fixed it. Everyone can hear me loud and clear, but I guess the important is that they heard you. But man, dude, but what's like the hard? What? Okay, I don't even want to go from that angle. What's the thing that you appreciated the most about traveling to these places and playing for all these people?
I mean, I think it was just sort of like the ability to do exactly what I wanted with my life and sort of make something out of it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I love music from when I was a kid. Something I always did, and I love traveling from when I was a kid. I was fortunate, and my dad was a pretty well-known doctor for some devices that he worked on and stuff. He was an academic, so it was never really a money thing for him. But like, he was
Mm-hmm.
very well known, so he lectured all over the world, and every once in a while I get to sort of like tag along. So I caught the travel bug really early, like 10, 12, 13 years old. And
Mm-hmm.
so when it came time to figure out what I wanted to do, I was like, if I can make it work and I can get to a point where like somebody else is going to pay me to travel around and play music, that's what I want to do. So, the ability to experience so many other cultures, and also to like experience it from that angle, because when you're doing that, you're being kind of, it's sort of like first class treatment. So you
Yeah.
go to the best restaurants, you have to check out the best clubs, you stay in the nicest hotel, and it's really a cool way to do it. Although, like, I definitely like to get down and dirty and sort of check out the real scene. So we always try to do that too. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was just a way to do the things that I was passionate about, and try to survive doing it, which is hard. I mean, that's what trading is for most people too, I think. So it's kind of, it's sort of like a very symbiotic thing. Very, although like the actual medium is different, I think the lifestyle, or at least the goals of the people who choose to do it, are somewhat similar. It's mostly
Mm-hmm.
people who don't want that white collar, sit in a cubicle vibe, and who think they can sort of like manifest their own destiny.
Hmm. How did you discover that passion in the first place?
I started playing the piano when I was 5. I mean, my parents told me that like I used to like rock out really hard to their vinyl when I was a baby. I don't know. I just always loved music. It was always kind of my thing. I excelled at it, and I kind of played a lot of instruments. I loved to be in front of people. performing and stuff. And then, when I got to college, DJing was a lot cooler than playing the piano. Like a lot more attractive to girls. So I started DJing on like the house parties around campus, and then I was in Philadelphia, so I ended up doing stuff downtown and sort of rolled from there to where I was making a living out of it.
Yeah. I feel like you've lived the dream, or at least your dream in a way. You seem to have achieved.
I'm like a cat.
So in that sense, I mean, how did you pivot into crypto?
Yeah, it was a matter of timing. So I always traded. I went to the University of Pennsylvania in the late 90s, sort of like the tech boom and the Wall Street boom. And so like getting a job on Wall Street was like being handed Halloween candy when I was at Penn. Literally, like I was in a fraternity, and my big brother was the recruiter for Solomon Smith Barney. His big brother in the fraternity had been the recruiter the year before. He was like, "Do you want a job? Like, you'll make like $100 a year your first year out. You'll be on a path, whatever." He was like, "You don't even need to do a resume on the interview."
You're like, "Fuck yeah!"
By the way, I'm holding my kid's fucking Lego here.
I love it.
Yeah, but and I sort of chose to not take that path, but it was that easy. So like catching the finance bug to some degree, even if you weren't interested in it, like I had the Wharton School sort of at my fingertips, and so I took a class that had charting in it randomly when I was in college. I probably showed up a few times, I kind of got it from there. But I really, at the beginning, I was just like more investing. You know what I mean? Like trading, whatever. It was a good time to just, if I made some money, I threw it in the market, whatever. And then at some point I'd pull it out and waste it on a trip. And then I'd try to start again and reinvesting. And, how my early 20s went. But I was always into it, something that just always interested me.
Good shit, man. I don't know. It seems to me like you live a life that I would quite like to achieve for myself one day. So that's fucking awesome, dude. Everyone in chat is being like, "Yo, Scott's the man." Everyone loves you, dude. That's special,
I appreciate that. I really do.
And
I try to start shit with people, I really try to kind of be somewhat, polite and treat people the way I'd like to be treated. Kind of funny because like I was sort of a savage when I was younger.
Really?
Definitely like in my 20s and early 30s. Before I met my wife, when I was on the road DJing, like, I was definitely about myself. But then like when you get a family and kids and stuff, I mean, that aspect is still there, of course, but like see your daughter and you realize how you want your like kid to be treated, and so you want to set a good example, and it sort of changes your whole focus. I mean, I know that sounds really cliche and actually super lame, but it's not true. I just think there's no reason to like beef with people on the internet. I mean, what could be a bigger waste of time for me? It's funny, I think you and I actually originally like spoke on DM because people were trying to beef with both of us on the internet.
Yeah, man, that's true.
I appreciate that people like
strategy. I mean, it's yeah, Mike's saying Scott's the man. Few dudes as successful are this nice and friendly. But yeah, no, all that to say, I mean, I get exactly where you're coming from. For me, it's a big waste of energy, and I would rather I'd rather make friends with people. I mean, there's never a harm in just being good or being yourself. But yeah, no, good shit, man. So yeah, everyone in chat, first of all, they're asking if Scott could maybe pick the music in the background. The only thing is that it can't be copyrighted because they'll end up muting the whole thing after it's streamed, so we don't want that.
Nah, just play whatever, man. Like I said, no country and we're good.
Alright, good stuff, man. But yeah, so on Twitter, how much of your time do you think you spend a day tweeting and just preparing your thoughts, ideas? Is it like a full-time thing, the Twitter part, or are there other aspects?
No, like I don't think it's a full-time thing. For me, it's like I'm actually like pretty funny. I have pretty like severe ADHD, which I've sort of turned to a positive thing throughout my life. But Twitter, long before crypto existed, was always my like just random thought, sort of like, I was on Twitter for a long time, sort of where I like threw out my random thoughts and stuff, and now my random thoughts are just a little more appropriate, so it's sort of still where where I throw them. So like I would say that the hard part is not like tweeting. I don't plan my tweets. It's sort of a stream of consciousness. Like you can basically see what I'm doing throughout my day by just reading my Twitter feed because you know. But the hard part is that I actually like legitimately try to respond to everybody. And responding to the comments, as you know, becomes like the bigger your account gets, the more just absolutely ludicrous, like trying to keep up with everyone. And I miss some, obviously, like I sleep, and I'm not gonna like dig for 8 hours, in case like 5 hours of mentions or whatever to try to, figure out what everyone was saying. But I really do try, to respond to everything. So I would say that aspect of it is very difficult, but I don't spend most of my time on Twitter. Although it may seem
yeah, like your account's probably twice my size, and I'm starting to lose my mind. So, dude, props to you, man. Yeah, the Black Stallion wants to know biggest music or trading inspirations that you can share with us. Two very different fields, but
yeah, sure. My biggest music inspirations, I mean, they were from a DJ perspective. Like when I started in Philly, it was a really awesome place to be for music. And there were huge DJs in each genre there that were like world class. And it was a very small community, so you had access to them. So like when I started playing house and stuff, it was always Josh Wick. Like he worked at the local record store, we became friends. But for me, like as more of a hip hop open format dude, DJ Jazzy Jeff was like the local legend.
Yo, that's crazy.
And I had the opportunity to like tour with him and open for him a bunch and stuff. So like seeing the way that he could put shit together, and he would, just that old school mind of doing it the way that he did was always sort of the way that I was inspired. I also was like, found DJ AM to be a real inspiration. He was just a great dude and just an absolute monster. Musically, like I go back to the classics, Prince, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye. I'm like a real soul dude that people used to joke that I'm like an 80-year-old black woman locked in a, white dude's body. But that's the kind of music I listen to and sort of like what I vibe to. So I would definitely say that. As far as trading, I mean, I don't know that I have an inspiration. Like I definitely have at this point. There's like, Texas West Capital, the guy I work with, and I'm a part of his team only because like I bothered him so much because I respected him so much that I convinced him to like start a Discord and start all this stuff. So he's always, even though I had a lot of experience before and was profitable, like the way he views markets is very like inspiring to me. And I've learned even like every day, like just talking with him and whatever, we bounce things back and forth. And, he really, guy's a genius and one of the few people I know who's been profitable for decades, doing this. So like, I think I just really respect him, and he's the guy that sort of I would view somewhat as a mentor even at this point in my career. It's kind of like the joke, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. I really always believe that there's always somebody who's smarter and better at everything than you are, and you should just like force yourself into their sphere and, make them teach you.
I like that.
That's how I approach DJing too. Like, just if you like, I like what that dude's doing. I'm gonna go introduce myself, tell him I'll open for him for free. I'll carry your records. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, let me see what you're doing. I want to be a part of it. I want to understand it. And I think if you have that sort of like positive energy, that people will sort of like embrace it. And if you're smart enough, I mean, you have to actually be able to like be competent and add something to what they're doing. But I think that you can pretty much add whatever you want.
Not enough people think like that. They give first without expecting, and then maybe getting something back later down the road. That's I can see why people like you, Scott. I didn't know that about you.
The experience, knowledge. That's where we all want money, but like you're just a LARPer unless you actually have the skills to do it and make it happen. And trading, you want like an analogy between trading and DJing. Well, look at how DJing became once like technology became a part of it. And every dude who like was a bottle promoter at a table became a DJ because he could like download someone's music library and go play shit on their laptop. Like DJing became an absolute joke. Like it was a farce. Anybody could do it. The skill was completely taken out of it because the barriers of entry had been eliminated. You didn't need to go buy turntables, pay $10 per song on record, lug that shit up and down your stairs every day, and trading is the same. Like when I started and when these other ones did, you like got newsletters in the mail that you paid hundreds of dollars for, and you called a broker and you made a trade, and it was like, you couldn't just go online and like check the charts and everything. And now I mean, Twitter is the equivalent. People go on Twitter, it's a cop out. They don't know what they're doing, and they see something, they buy it. They have someone to blame, and they never like take the time to learn what they're doing. And at the end of the day, like, you know, you tap out because you can't sustain. So I think that that's a huge problem.
In that regard, so for our viewers at home, when someone does get on Twitter and, you know, sees what we see, how could you recommend they steer the space while learning without handicapping themselves?
I mean, that's a tough question, honestly.
That's Bagsy TV, man. We ask the tough questions.
Yeah. Well, places like this, you know, obviously, like there are a million free and paid resources, but like I believe that you should be getting your education before you're on Twitter trying to just like pick and choose what might or might not be good information. So like at the end of the day, like there's 1,000 charts. If you can't read a chart, you're just, I mean, like me going on Chinese Twitter and pretending like I it's really no different. So, you know, I think that maybe, you know, Crypto Cred, like the dude has 1,000 free lessons. Go look at his lessons. Go watch some YouTube videos. I mean, I think you can be competent at TA or at least like understanding the basics in 20 or 30 hours of effort. Like it's not really that hard. You know what I mean? If it was an exact science, maybe it would be, but like you want to understand support and resistance, you want to understand a trend line, you want to identify a few patterns. I mean, this is like high school entry like level.
Child's play. But it's funny because that literally that 20, 30 hours can save a person's life.
Yeah.
In this market, no joke. Just understanding not to buy at resistance is probably one of the number one things I see that people do wrong. And if you can just avoid that, man, that's a good start.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're saying there's a lot of free resources. That's true. I actually learned through paid groups. I kind of just sponged everything in. A lot of it was bad. I think probably 10% or 15% of them were successful, or at least I was successful in learning from them and applying what they were doing. So I'd actually advocate as well, if you have a bit of money, like let's say you're not rolling with $100 in BTC, but you actually have a job, you have good conditions, you know, you can afford to pay for your education. That's another way to do it, because also if you're the type of lazy person who, like, let's say wants to study Crypto Cred's free work, right? But you can't sit down to do it, then putting that monetary thing up front will make you want to do it because you actually spent money to learn the thing. So I know that helped me, and that's why I did it that way. Yeah, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. I think that the problem is that, I mean, the statistics are clear on it, obviously, but like just at a basic level, I think most people are not built to be traders. I think that, you know, humans are inherently emotional, and you have to eliminate that to be an effective trader. I think, like I said before, I think that it's hard to take personal accountability for your decisions. So taking a trade on Twitter and then yelling at the person who is much easier than turning it all off and finding something on a chart and doing it yourself. And yeah, I just think at the end of the day, it's just not something that most people are cut out for. And even the ones who are, I don't think it's like an easy life. And I think that most people who are attracted to it, to crypto, think that they're going to take $1,000 and get rich, or whatever that, you know, amount is, or even whatever relative level they are. And like, yeah, maybe this will be world-changing tech, and maybe it'll be 2017 again. But at the end of the day, the odds of anyone doing very little or investing very little to become rich are very low, no matter what the market is or the job is or whatever it is. There's just really no like easy path to wealth or to knowledge. And so like you're either going to do the hard work or you're just not going to make it. And even if you do the hard work, to be honest, you're probably not going to make it, you know? So I think that trading is a good side hustle for most people, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm terrible at a lot of things that I'm not going to try to do as jobs.
What's one of those things? First,
art, like any art that's not music, I'm like a
potato,
like a mentally handicapped 3-year-old. I mean, I have to draw stick figures. My 4-year-old out arts, so it's real.
That's fucking funny, man.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, I'm horrible with any type of art. But I picked up violin when I was a kid for many years, so I was more into music as well. But dude, I can't touch anything else apart from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Black Stallion wants to know, what do you do to clear your mind for fun or relaxation?
That's also a tough question because now I have 2 kids, so I pretty much just like kick it with them. I don't really watch TV. I love fantasy football. It's a good release. I go to the gym. I do CrossFit every single day, every single weekday because I can't do it on the weekends. And for me, like any activity where I have an excuse, like put my phone down and detach completely, even if it's only for 30 minutes or an hour a day, like that for me is relaxation. It doesn't even matter what the activity is. It's just the excuse to be completely like disconnected. Like I live a bit farther from the ocean, but I used to surf a lot and like throwing my phone in the car and rolling out there with a board and doing that. Like that's to me just being like focused on one thing that has, that's not attached to the rest of the world is the thing that sort of like helps me relax and whatever. But I'm honestly a pretty like chill dude at this point. Nothing really phases me into any great degree.
Yeah, like you've seen it all, so you I don't know. I feel like the older you get, the more you understand yourself and you're able to deal with things.
Yeah, it's 100% true. Oprah said you don't know yourself till you're 50. Oprah's got it.
Really, huh?
Yeah.
Damn, so I have some exploring to do.
Yeah.
But dude, 2 kids, congrats, man. How old are they, if you don't mind me asking?
They're 4 and 3 months. So my wife and I were never getting married. We were just going to live together and kick it. And basically, I saw a wedding dress we liked in the store randomly, so we got married. And then the first kid was a result of a drunk night. We were never having kids, and then the second one was planned because once you have one, the second one you
needs a friend.
Needs a friend. So, but now I would say we are certainly done. So yeah, I have a baby. He's like in the next room, literally like 20 feet away. So.
That's so cute. Congrats, man.
Thank you.
Congrats. Crypto Medro wants to know any lessons from parenthood crossover to trading.
Well, yeah, I think that 100%, and I think that's all temperament. If you think a chart is infuriating, try dealing with a 4-year-old at breakfast. Like, I mean, it's not even close. Like, oh, I want this, I want that. You make it, I don't want that, I hate that.
Yeah, like, fuck.
Oh, my favorite food is yogurt. You go out and buy a case of 30 yogurts. I hate yogurt. You know what I mean? Like, the life. So I think being able to like, it sounds hilarious, and it actually is when you step back, but it's insanely frustrating dealing with the mind of a child. And if you can deal with that, you should be able to like be completely unemotional and detached in trading. So I think I learned a lot of lessons from parenting actually that have taught me to like, also like once you have kids or whatever, like nothing else really matters anymore. All the trivial shit that used to bother you or whatever becomes completely like not even a thought in your mind, and trading is definitely falls into that, bucket. So it's like, I mean, you're worried about like, if your kid's gonna grow up and be bullied and this and that, or just all the crazy things that you would never think about that go through a parent's mind. Like it's just everything else sort of becomes trivial. So trading just becomes like a hobby, what you do. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Do you find that your time away from the screen, I mean, helping your kids grow up, all that, has taken away from your trading ability, or are you still as like focused and that's your, bread and butter in a way?
I think I'm still focused.
Yeah.
Actually, it's like the minute you like dump them off at school or get rid of them or they're doing something else, like that you're sort of on a clock all the time. So everything becomes, I think, more hyper focused. Also, like I know anyone who started before crypto, like markets weren't 24/7. Like
good point.
I would kill to be a Wall Street trader who is like 7 hours a day and no weekends and doesn't even think about it and whatever. Like the market closing is a gift that crypto traders will never appreciate because it's such a degenerate thing to believe that you can keep up with something 24/7. Like So
It's a lot.
I really think beginning traders should, if you want to really treat it like a job, you should set trading hours and then walk away and don't even check it. I mean, I know it's brutal to like not know if you got stopped out or if you hit your take profit or whatever it is, but looking at it doesn't change what's going to happen. You know what I mean? In fact, staring at it and watching it is probably just going to force you to make a really bad decision, like move your stop loss or sell too early or whatever. The more you're away from it, the better you'll trade. I always used to joke that my best trades are made when I'm sleeping. Because it's something that I set, I looked at it arbitrarily, and it just happened without me watching, so I didn't have to even make a decision. The decision was made.
It's funny because when I had Cred on the other week, he said the exact same thing. As a beginner trader, it's probably better to set your entry, stop loss, exit, and just step back from the wheel rather than trying to micromanage the trade, because you don't yet know what you're micromanaging for. Like you said, raising your stop loss or just taking profit early, all that kind of stuff. So I agree with you there too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't believe that trading has to be a full-time job. Like if I wanted to do something 24/7, I would go do. I just don't want to do anything that often.
Yeah, exactly.
It is to like open up some free time, give me a it's supposed to be liberating, not constricting. So, I go look at, I might be tracking 4 or 5 things, whatever. Once I've looked at them and I decide where I want to be, I don't really need to watch them. You know what I mean? I can go do something else, set an alarm and be gone. Like I do understand, obviously, when you're learning, you want to watch price action, you want to put in your 10,000 hours, whatever, Malcolm Gladwell meme. But, at the end of the day, like most setups and most charts are very, very simple. And you obviously know, you sit here and chart 100 things at a time. Like you look at a chart, you get to a certain level, which does not take that long. You look at a chart and you go, okay, this is what I see. This is where whales are probably going to buy. This is where they're going to sell. This is where there's liquidity. I want this, set an alarm, be done. Like what else are we going to really do by watching it? Except for just, holy shit, it's going down. Oh, damn, it's going up. Oh my,
It's like look at all these bots playing with the price.
Yeah, it's funny to watch. You know what I mean? But I just I don't have it in me to obsess over charts at that level. I need to, man.
Pumpkin Biscotti wants to know, what's your preferred time frame and frequency for taking trades? It's a tough one.
Now, well, for crypto, I have generally 4 windows open on every chart. It's the hourly, 4-hour, daily, and weekly. And I start on the higher time frame and work backwards. So I'll look at the weekly, and that takes about 3 seconds to identify a major trend, obviously. Then I'll drill down to the daily and sort of that's where I'll start really looking for supply and demand or really key support and resistance areas. And then from there, I just use the lower time frames sort of to drill down the entries and exits or what's happening. But I think my favorite time frame is the 4-hour. I mean, I think it's kind of the perfect balance between being a degenerate scalper who's watching the 1 minute chart, but also keeping a sort of longer time frame and focus. But I'll take a day trade if I see it. If I stumble across something, I'm like, oh, let's go. I'll take it. And I used to sit there and scalp Forex. I used to scalp BitMEX before I realized that they were thieves, and I was American and it was illegal, I've made a mistake that all of you are probably going to make. It just doesn't suit my temperament to be that actively engaged in a position. So generally, I would say I look for multi-week trades. I post shorter trades and I do take them, but maybe it's most important to understand that I'm very strict with how I balance my portfolio. So I have all of my net wealth, my house, my bonds, stocks, all of my investments. So let's consider that the 100% basket. So I try to keep crypto itself to 10% or less of that. So drill that down to 10%, and then I view my crypto portfolio as I try to be trading with no more than 15 to 20% of the crypto part. So the 10% drilled down to another 15 to 20%, and that's what I trade with. So most of what I'm doing, I'm effectively investing or on really longer swing trades.
Yeah.
I'll kind of move into that like 80% of my crypto bucket if it's something. But I mean, I'm so disinterested in alts and kind of trading this market at the moment anyways that, I mean, it's been on autopilot. It's not like I don't even see how you could like do this for a job at the moment,
Yeah, 100%. So that's interesting. You trade with 15 to 20% of your entire crypto portfolio. That's cool. I always ask, or not always ask, but I'm always curious what other traders play with. Some risk a lot, like 50%. Some are like starting with 5. For new traders, I like to think maybe less than 1%, 0.5% even.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, I'm not saying that I'm not risky, just to be clear. Like, I'm definitely not risking 15% of my portfolio.
yeah.
I'm saying, like, I'll view that 15% of my portfolio as 100% of my trading portfolio, and I only risk 1% on a trade. You know what I mean? So it drills down really far.
Right.
And I'll tell you, like in 2017, when it was like full FOMO and alts were popping left and right, like I upped that number. I was trading 50% of my, crypto portfolio or more because it made sense and it was profitable, but I wouldn't recommend it. But if it's like 1%, take $100 and trade it around and see if you can not lose it all. Like,
yeah. So in late 17, when all the FOMO, all of the alts were popping, one, what was going through your mind, and two, were you able to get off the screen?
I was much more glued to the screen then, for sure. I mean, I was still able to like go to bed and wake up in the morning, check it,
eat food. Yeah.
But I was definitely more invested, but not because maybe not the reason other people were. I thought that it wasn't going to last forever, and it was sort of like get it while it's hot, So I sort of saw that it was a bubble, and it was kind of growing, and like there was insane wealth to be made there. Like I didn't time it perfectly, and everyone tells you they did, either is lucky or lying. So yeah, I was really glued to it, and I was making crazy money doing it, so it was worth it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like now I can sit here for 10 hours and not take a trade, so I just wasted 10 hours that I didn't make a penny. You know what I mean? So if I can do 10 hours of active, I mean, you were there, I assume. So like it was literally like, oh, I'm gonna buy this. Oh, I'm up 3x. Let's put that into this, and blah blah blah. It was just you couldn't. And I think the biggest problem for me was fighting the urge to feel like I was like some crazy trading genius. Like I felt like I was like this trading god, but my rational side.
God, yeah.
You're just so lucky to be here. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And luckily, like I said, like I had Chris Inks, Texas West Capital. Like that's when we were very like much in contact on a daily basis still back then. And he's like the anti-FOMO. I mean, that dude will like spoil your mood about being excited in the best of ways. And he was always like, well, top's coming, so it was really nice to have like a rational, not that my mind wasn't rational, like I said, I was sort of like devil and angel on my shoulder.
It's like all in.
I've always been pretty like well grounded, but it was nice to have a voice like that, another experienced trader who could say, get it while it's hot, but like take your profits. I was in other paid groups at that time. It's funny, and I was getting like constant barrages of criticism for like my approach, because my approach was always to sell no matter what on Friday, like take profit on Friday. So like if I made a certain amount of money, I would take 50% of the profits from that week out every Friday, regardless of the price of Bitcoin. Because to me, like you're not a professional trader unless you're paying your bills by trading.
Amen.
Otherwise, you're just moving money around as a long-term investor, right? You're just trading within like your investment, but you're not. Like you're only a professional trader if you don't have to have another job to do it. So like I was like, I need to take a paycheck. And I have a family. My wife was like, you need a paycheck. You're not leaving this all in here. You know what I mean? Like,
it's like
I would take money out. And they'd be like, you're nuts. To 10,000, it's gonna be 15 on Monday. What are you selling for? Well, because I don't care. I like money. And,
and that's your rule.
I like paying for my kids' school tuition, so
yeah.
My approach was always to like just keep selling.
Pay yourself.
Blindly sell. You know, like the same way that I like always preach to dollar cost average into things, I think you need to be dollar cost averaging out when it's clear that the market is on its last legs. Just I remember actually being mad one time when I sold Ethereum at $1,000 because I sold it at 1,400 the week before.
Yeah.
I was like mad, but I was like, damn, I could have just sold twice as much last week.
40%, yeah, exactly. Shit.
Yeah.
But dude, I DCA'd out in 17 from like the low 2Ks, and man, it just felt like I DCA'd out way too early on the grand scheme of things. But yeah, I was always, I don't know, I'm always one to pay myself as well, and I didn't have half the skill that I have now at the time, so it was more blind luck than anything. I'd like to say. I only started seriously learning technical analysis and stuff around that time. So it was still like I was still basic shit. But dude, I wish I could have capitalized it on it as I could have now. But obviously it's all hindsight.
Yeah, which is always 2020, obviously.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I would have sold on this date. Oh, I would have bought on that site. It's like, Bagsy, shut the fuck up.
I know you can live your whole life like that. You know what I mean? And so another good lesson from trading is like you can't dwell on the past. Like every girl you've ever talked to or were too scared to talk to in your life. Oh, if I had just talked to her, she'd be
Don't remind me, man. I have some regrets in my life on that. Oh, but I told myself. Oh, what's that?
And the lesson is, if you want something, go for it. Period.
Amen.
I mean, I believe that about everything in life, and I've hopefully learned to do that in the last, since I kind of grew up, and it's worked out very well. Like I said, that's sort of how I got to where I was DJing, and sort of how I got to where I was, with trading, is that I just forced my way into the situations I want to be in. Mm-hmm. And I used to approach dating very much the same way.
So just head first, let's get it.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't try, then you should never. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, or whatever cliche they say about sports.
Mr. Nick Zach wants to know, hey Scott, what do you think is the one fundamental lesson you learned about trading that made the most success for you?
To me, it's a few things. Emotion. You just have to kill all of the emotion, period. And that takes a really long time, but that's really the most important thing. And then I think the portfolio balancing removes a lot of the stress and pressure from trading, because even if you find that you're a horrible trader, at least you're only risking 15% of your capital doing it. So I never have enough invested in a single trade that I care if it goes wrong. And so if you genuinely don't care, about losing that, I hate losing money, don't get me wrong. But if you generally are in the right mindset when you take it and realize that it'll probably go against you. I always joke that the best skill you can have as a trader is to always assume you're going to be wrong, because then you're sort of prepared for that eventuality. If you take a trade and think you're going to be wrong and then you're wrong and you're mad about it, then you weren't really prepared to be wrong. So, so I really do think it's about temperament and emotion and just setting up your risk so that you don't feel bad when you lose. I think most mistakes by traders are made because they can't stand being wrong. They're just I'm going to go stop loss down. It's going to bounce right after I sell. It's going to be terrible. How will I ever live with myself? And even if that does happen, you forget about it 48 hours later, it never happened. Especially in this market, 2017, I was taking 37 trades an hour. I'd be like, did I ever trade DGB? I don't even know. But at some point I was probably, heavily trading. It's just realize it's all forgettable. And if you manage your risk, there should be no stress. So I think that's really just, you learn to manage your risk and your emotions, then it's very easy to trade. It's easy to be profitable, but it's easy to trade.
Thank you. Pumpkin wants to know, outside of trading and TA, you mentioned dollar cost averaging and wealth management. Was that something you also taught yourself, or did you have learning resources for it?
A bit of both, but I come from a fortunate background. Like, my parents are well educated. We were very middle class. I always had the things that I needed. They always made sure that I was on the right track and had experiences. I went to an Ivy League university, and I think if you're on that sort of path, like, you get at least the basic education that you need about those things. And then in school, and then, like, my social circle from college, they're all amazing people. I was very fortunate to fall into, but they're all insanely wealthy. Mm-hmm. So, insanely wealthy. So I have like really good resources there. Like the same way dudes talk about like pictures of naked girls, we talk about like, index funds. Mm-hmm. And so I have that sort of like separate thing. And if I have a question, I just ask, so I sort of like learned that way. But like, I don't want to give the impression that I was always this way. Like in my 20s, I've said that I've gone broke or been dead broke so many times. And it took till I was like 29, and I scored this big tour in Japan and paid off all of my debt and like put me, in a position where I could start investing again and stuff. And that's really when I got more serious. So it wasn't like, I dicked around big time. I would like save money to take it, and I'd be like, but I want to go on a trip with my friends who have a lot more money with me. So credit card, cash out.
Oh.
So, you know what I mean? And I think you can do that in your 20s if you can recover from it. I couldn't do it now. But like, so I think that you just like, you get tired of like stressing about money. You start taking the management of what you have pretty seriously. So
100%.
I can't go broke now. That would, I have people depending on me, and I have real things to pay for, and so.
Yeah, I guess that ties into getting better at learning how to live the older you get and the older you become. It's like you're not going to spend like a degen because you've done all that and like you've lived it, and there's better things on the table now that are worth looking at.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, in your group with Chris, you said.
Yeah.
What do you guys teach?
Well, Chris actually put together and took him like a year. He has a full like college level course basically on trading, top to bottom, nuts to bolts, risk management, every sort of like supply demand, chart patterns, Ichimoku, like every indicator, every sort of like strategy you could want. And so, and that's now actually, that used to be like something he sold as a standalone thing. And Discord was sort of just like to reinforce the lessons from that. So like we always viewed ourselves as an educational service more than like a signal service. It's not what we do. It's not what we offer. We'll never tell you where to like buy or sell something. We, we're a registered company in the United States. People pay us with their credit cards. Both of our real faces. Neither of us are financial advisors. So we take how we approach things very, very seriously. We pay our taxes. You know what I mean? So I would say that it's first and foremost an educational service. Now that entire course is included as a part of the Discord. So I really just view it as a way to learn from his analysis, mine as well, but primarily his, on a daily basis of how he views Bitcoin in different markets. And then above all, it's just sort of having access to him and myself to ask questions and learn. So really at the most fundamental level, it's an educational service where you also have the opportunity to identify trades that may or may not work for you. Because most of our setups are kind of like I said, they sort of fit our temperament. So they're bigger swings. They're not usually like scalping day trades. We tell everybody to stay away from leverage at all costs. We don't encourage anyone to trade with leverage. So, we have a very slow and boring approach. To be honest, we're older guys who want to see people sort of accumulate wealth the smart way and the slow way. So most of it is sort of geared towards that. And like when you post a setup or something, it's never like, we're at support buy. You know what I mean? Hey, here's what you're looking at. Here's this. He writes like a 2-paragraph thing explaining why he's looking at it and says, set an alarm here. And if it breaks out and retests, consider it. You know what I mean? If it fits like where you're at, if you have the available funds to do it. So I just think it's a very, very like I said, most people in this world would probably think we're boring. But, and I think a lot of our members are in their 40s and 50s and 60s. And, it's a much older and more sort of like investment, I think, savvy and wealthy individuals to some degree. So we benefit from having a lot of like Wall Street and professional traders in there that people also sort of, engage with that are members. But again, I mean, just to reiterate, at the end of the day, we view it as an educational service, and try. Really, it's like I said, he's the anti-FOMO. So if you want to calm your emotions, just come on over and take a Chris pill.
take a gander. How can they actually get in touch with you for
that? Twitter. You can just DM me on Twitter is probably the easiest way. I'm Scott Melker on Twitter or on Discord, so you can reach out to me on either one.
Yeah, your handle should be on the screen. What's your overview on the crypto space at the moment? Is it hard to gauge? He said it's hard to gauge if new money is actually entering. What do you think of the market at the moment?
I think it's very clear that new money entered. I mean, I'm of the strong belief, and I was saying it all the way at the bottom, just with the news. I really believe that institutional money entered. I think there's manipulation in any market, of course, but I think that there wasn't an element of price being sold down to a certain level, obviously, to where it was attractive for institutions to really start buying, like backed, to be warehousing and actually be, to be offering physically delivered futures. You need to own a lot of Bitcoin, and I don't think we want to buy it at the all-time high. I think that obviously sentiment is a huge part, and you can tell, like, even sitting here, and I've tweeted this like 100 times, that like we're at 10,000 and we're sideways at 10,000. Of course, that's my you can view 10,511, 9, it's all 10,000 to me. So like we're sideways at 10,000 and have been for months, and so I'm not trading it. Period. Like I have no interest in like really trading it. I'll buy some here and there, you know what I mean? But I'm not like actively trading it. And so now it's hard to tell if new money is entering, but I think 100% that new money got us here. And I think that I remember in like, June, September 2017, like my friends were asking me about Bitcoin at 5,000. They were asking me at 8,000, do I buy the dip when it went back to 5? At 5, they were asking, do I buy the dip when it goes down to 3,500? Nobody's interested now. There was one day we hit 14,000 and like everybody in the world asked me about Bitcoin. And it lasted literally 24 hours at the time instead of like 6 months. So I think we got the 14,000 this time without anybody paying attention. And last time we were like into full FOMO. So if that happens again, like we're going to be shooting way past all-time high. I don't know that it will happen again. I believe personally, but like I don't trade on my beliefs. So, but I do think there's a ton of new money in the market, but I can't tell you at this point, being this sideways, it's hard to be convinced that it's been a huge infusion coming back in. I think, obviously, with the level of altcoin bleed, Binance cutting off Americans like myself, and Bittrex, for whatever volume they have, delisting all the coins that don't pass the Howey test or can be viewed as securities. I think it's pretty clear that there's a significant amount of money that's exiting altcoins into Bitcoin that might be sort of just like, it's the old, like, in 2017, you didn't need new money, you just needed the washing machine to go around and around. And you can magically make more Bitcoin by just, cycling it through. Is basically washing it. So
don't remind me.
Yeah, I don't know now. I think that we're at an interesting sort of watch and wait sort of point. Like, I don't trade chop, and I view everything in this market right now as chop. So, very hard to take a trade here.
Are you along in any positions from the bottom apart from spot?
No, I don't trade with leverage.
Okay.
Yeah, at all. And that's not because like I don't believe I could or that I haven't had success at it in the past, because I've made quite a lot of what I've made, trading Bitcoin with leverage, but I'm really risk averse, and so it's illegal for Americans. So I can't really mess with Bitfinex. I can't really mess with BitMEX. I wouldn't, because they're literally stealing your money.
Yep.
I don't trade on any platform. Like if I hear a single report that stop loss failed for someone, or that like I see those Kraken wicks that go down like $2,000 just to liquidate people. Like if I can't practice perfect risk management to my like anal degree of particular, like whatever, I just won't. So like so there's not a single way for me to trade leverage that fits in my profile.
That's very interesting. I know leverage is so tempting for so many, but I truly agree with what you're saying. If you're not profitable, why are you fucking with leverage? I mean, you might be profitable once or twice, but you just won't understand. And next thing you know, Arthur will have taken your lunch money, and you're gonna be sad.
You ever been to Vegas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same idea.
For some reason, you tend to do really well the first day when you go gamble that first time. Like I got 200 bucks, craps, everybody's hot, but I guarantee you're leaving with less than you came 2 days later. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a good analogy.
Lucky people think that they're geniuses. It's just kind of the way it is. You know what I mean? So.
What's your game? If you had to go to Vegas right now, what would you play?
Craps. I love playing.
Craps.
So much fun.
What's the best thing about it? Just the thrill, or
the
feel of the dice? Like what's
the pass line there's no good odds in the casino, but playing the pass line has the best odds in the casino, which if I'm gonna at least like, first of all, I go to Vegas viewing whatever I spend as like same as going to the movies or going to a concert or buying.
Going to crypto.
Something I expect to lose, but like a winning craps table, like on a hot roll, is one of the most fun things in the world. Doesn't happen often, but like being in that sort of environment where everybody's winning together and everybody's cheering and like all of a sudden you're all best friends, it's amazing. And my wife is like the luckiest human being alive at a craps table, so I just
really
stand back and let her go at it, and she just crushes it every time. It's amazing. One time we were in Atlantic City and I was playing at some club and I was like, we got an hour, let's go play some craps because the clubs are all in the casinos there or whatever. So we started playing and it was on a hot roll. I was like, I really have to go DJ. She barely knew how to play. She was like, well, I'm just gonna stay. I'm not gonna go with you, but I'll be there right when I'm done. And she showed up like 2 hours later and had been rolling the entire time. And she made more than me playing craps than they made like on the whole trip coming to.
That's crazy.
Whatever. So, she just crushed it. She's got like the crazy good karma.
Dude, that's so awesome, man. I love lucky people. Do you consider yourself lucky?
Yeah. I don't see how I could. I mean, I don't really believe in luck. Like, I've definitely avoided like horrible things happening to me in my life. I've had a very, very, very charmed life, and everything is exactly how I would want it. And it's not always been easy. There's hard stuff, but I mean, generally life has been very, very easy.
And
that's I hope luck, right? I mean, is that you have what you want and minimal stress.
Good stuff, and I'm sure it's going to keep going that way. Indeed, Scott, it's been a real pleasure to have you on, man. I don't want to keep you too long. Is there anything you'd like to tell the fine people at home?
No, man, I really appreciate you having me. Obviously, because we were being slandered by a particular group, and I think we both sort of had the same approach to it. I mean, my approach was to ignore it and pretend it never happened, because just rise above, and that's when you're on Twitter, you can either engage or rise above, but like, the way you sort of handled that situation and then starting to engage with you and follow, like, I think that you're one of the few people out here who's really like providing tremendous value to the community, you know what I mean? And, I think you're smart, and I think people can learn a lot from you. And I think that just, it's good to have some good guys in the space, I guess. So like, I'm really happy that we got to interact here and do this, and hopefully, be able to do it again in the future.
Dude, I'd be fucking honored, and I have the same respect for you, if not greater. So everyone at home, thank you for tuning in. And Scott, again, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Thank you guys.
Have a great day, everyone.